So the year I'm filming this video is 2024, which means it's 40 years since the original Mac was released. And I thought I'd celebrate by buying this old Mac Plus from a local auction. Still got the local auction sticker on there. And I got it home and realized it doesn't work. So today we're going to see if we can figure out what's wrong with it and get it working. Welcome to the basement. So what is the Mac Plus? Well, the Macintosh Plus was really the growing up of the original Macintosh. The original Macintosh was groundbreaking. It introduced that graphical user interface that we're also familiar with nowadays, but it was really limited in some other areas, notably the RAM, which was started out at 128K and was bumped up to 512, which still really was a bit limited. The Mac Plus came standard with 1 megabyte of RAM, and that could be expanded up to 4 megabytes. So a great big leap for it there. The other thing that the Mac Plus brought to the table was expandability via the SCSI port on the back. So first Mac to have a SCSI port, and that enabled it to be able to connect to external hard drives, CD drives, zip drives, even monitors. So it made this computer a lot more versatile, especially getting that hard drive option. And of course the Mac Plus also has the larger keyboard with a numeric keypad, which gives you a few more options as well. The Mac Plus also upgraded the floppy drive from the original Macintosh. The original Macintosh had a 400 kilobyte drive, and this doubled the capacity to 800 kilobytes. So quite a nice upgrade from the original Macintosh. In fact, back in the day, you could actually order an upgrade kit for your original Macintosh that turned it into a Plus. So you would get the upgraded motherboard, and you would get a new back case, and you just swap all the parts over, and you have yourself a Plus. You could even order the keyboard as well. Now, famously, Steve Jobs was not a big fan of fans, so he didn't want any fans in the original Macintosh, and that's carried over into the Mac Plus. This is truly a fanless design, but sometimes it suffers because of that. So they can get pretty warm, and with the components getting very warm over the space of 20 or 30 years, you can see that there's maybe cause for failure there. And with this unit not turning on, that's probably one of the first things I'll suspect. But as you're going to see, there's a few other things which I've noticed from this machine without opening it that also give me cause for concern. What came with the auction is I got a mouse with it as well, the original mouse, obviously the keyboard, and we've also got an external floppy missing a foot, but that's a nice thing to have. I don't know if the floppy works. I haven't tested that, but I have turned this on and nothing has happened. So I'll show you guys now what I mean. I'll plug it in and we'll see what happens. Power's on. I'll flick the switch and nothing at all. So hello, just nothing. It is totally dead. Let's have a look at it and see if we can figure out the problem. Okay, I've put all the peripherals away because if we're going to pull it apart, I need the space. But before I do, I mentioned before there was something else that gave me cause for concern. And if we have a look in here, this is where the battery is kept to keep the clock and everything. There's a lot of corrosion down there. So if the battery's been leaking, if I look down here on these ports as well, I can see some green down here. So that's already telling me a bit of a story about this. I think it's had some leaky battery happening in there. So anyway, I guess all that's left for it now is to pull it apart and see how bad the damage is inside. Right, first of all, before we pull it apart, I need to take this off here. This is a little interrupt or reset button, and that's just a piece of plastic that pushes through the grate and pushes some buttons behind it, so that's easy to take off. The next thing we might do is let's take this gross battery out of here. Oh my goodness. Whew. Okay, well I was mistaken before. It's not an AA battery. It is in fact a 4.5 volt battery. But of course, you know, it's been leaking a little bit. You can see it's pretty crusty. So this is going in the bin. And you can see our green contacts in there. Now that's probably leaked down inside, so anyway, we'll pull it off and see what kind of damage we're looking at. Now on the Mac Plus, you need something like this. Some people buy specific screwdrivers just for this job, but I just put an extension on my normal screwdriver, and that gives me enough length to get right down in here and get to that screw. So in theory, the back of the computer should just lift straight up. So it seems to be a little bit stuck on there, so I'm just going to go around working it up until it slides off. Oh, come on. It takes a bit to actually separate the plastics, but it's coming now. It's probably not been apart for, well, maybe ever. So I've just pulled the back of the case off, and I've noticed there's all these signatures on the inside of the case, which I think it must mean this is some sort of prototype. No, I'm just joking. Every compact Mac has signatures on the inside of the case. But you know what is special? PCBWay. When it comes to doing your next project, you can either do it the wrong way or the PCB way. That's right, PCBWay has everything you need to create your next project. So much more than just PCBs. They also do sheet metal fabrication, 3D printing, metal printing, CNC machining, you name it, they can do it. Everything you need for your next project can be found at PCBWay. So if you need to know which way to go with your next project, it's PCBWay. Kind sponsor of today's video. There we have the inside of our little Mac Plus, and straight away I can see some issues and I can smell reefer, which is never a good sign, is it? Now, for those of you who don't know, reefer is the brand of a protection capacitor. They can explode, and that leads to a particularly distinctive reefer type smell. Right, so now we've got a zoomed in look. We can see that this is the capacitor, the reefer, and that has exploded spectacularly. It would have been quite a smoky old business when it let go, and it's spewed its guts out all over this area. I can see sort of capacitor goo everywhere. So we'll get that all cleaned up and we'll get that out. There's also a little fuse behind here. I don't know if you can see that down here. It's probably blown, but I'll check that soon. We've got two more protection capacitors here, which I'm going to replace as well while I'm in here. And the other issue we've got, of course, is I can see this is the bottom of the battery holder where the leaking battery was, and that's dripped down onto these, I guess these terminal things here on the switch, and they're badly corroded as well. And I dare say that that corrosion's carried on down into the chassis. And we can look down here in the corner. This is, as gravity would go, the bottom of the machine underneath the blown capacitor and the leaky battery. So this is yuck, it's gross. So we're going to pull this analog board out. We're going to start pulling this machine apart, and I really need to have a close look at the actual computer board, which is underneath all of this stuff, and check that that's okay as well. So let's get pulling it apart. Now, when dealing with any kind of CRT, you do want to just be very careful. There's lots of lethal voltage around the tube, especially under this cap here. So what I'm doing is I'm earthing out this screwdriver to the chassis, and I'm just going to poke it gently under here and contact the anode, and if there's any lethal voltage, that will earth out through the chassis, and it will mean that it doesn't go through our hands. The other thing we're going to have to do is pull the neck board off here. So we'll just carefully take that off the back of the tube. That's done as well. Now, the other thing connected to our analog board here is the lead going down to the motherboard. So let's disconnect that. Oof. You just want to be pretty careful around the neck of that tube. It's very fragile. If that gets broken, that's all over. Check it out. Oh, that's gross. Yeah, it's going to need a big clean. Okay, we've got the analog board here on the desk. Let's have a look around it and just see what we can see wrong. Is some obvious things, so we'll have a close look and note them down. So obviously suspect number one, or I dare say culprit number one, is this reefer capacitor here. He's coming out. We've got these two capacitors here. They're also going to come out. Now the other issue we're going to have is this fuse. Let's pop it out and just have a look at it. So there's our fuse. I'll put the multimeter on it and see what it says. Yep, she's dead. Now with all that in mind, we're going to have to clean up all of this corrosion on the board here. I might start desoldering some of these capacitors, certainly these ones, and make a bit of space so that we can get in and start cleaning off all of this gunk and cleaning up these contacts as well that have turned green. While the machines are heating up, I'm just going to go through and mark on the back the actual ones that I want to desolder so I don't accidentally do the wrong one in the heat of desoldering. All the desoldering's done. Now it's just a matter of getting all the capacitors out. So in theory they should all be loose now. We can just pull them out. So I'll go ahead and do that and then we'll put the new ones in. Okay, so I've gone through and given this board a thorough clean. Took quite a while, but managed to get almost all of the capacitor gunk off. Very sticky sort of stuff. So you can see it's all gone from here, but there's a bit of burning underneath where that that protection cap exploded. I can't do much about that, but it shouldn't affect anything too much because the traces on the back are fine. So we're ready now to start putting all of our new caps in, making sure they go in the right place. It's actually a really nice board to work on, this old Mac Plus board. It's got plenty of room to get around things and everything's really clearly labelled, which is great because I've gone through, before I removed all the old caps, I went and labelled the position for all of the new ones that I've bought. So I've just written on the bag where they're going to go, and that's going to help me with not getting any in the wrong spot as I'm putting it all back together. Right, that's looking great. Now what I want to do while we've got this board out of the machine is I'm going to reflow all the solder joints for all of these connectors, because that's a known problem on these boards, is you get cracked solder joints where these connectors go through. So we'll reflow them. Might as make sense while we've got the board out, doesn't it? So let's get that done and then we'll get this board back in the machine and we'll have a look at the actual motherboard of the machine as well. Okay, nice fresh solder on all the high stress joins. I even did the little wheel here as well. So that's got a nice strong join on it too. Right, I think this board is done. We can get that ready to go back into the machine. While I was at it, I cleaned all the corrosion off these leads here, I suppose they are, and off the battery holder. I actually snipped the contact out of the battery holder there because it was had corroded right away, and I'm not going to bother putting a new battery in. It's only to keep the clock, and I'm not going to use this machine enough to worry about having the clock at the right time. So I think we are ready to roll. I might just pop a little bit of hot glue on these capacitors where they had them originally, just to hold everything in place and stop any vibrations causing a problem. Just one other thing, before I forget, let's put a fuse back in, because I don't want to put it all back together and wonder why it's still not working because I forgot the fuse. So let's do that. So it takes a 1.6 amp type T. So hopefully I've got one of those. And it would be nice if I had them organised, but they're not, they're just all together. I managed to find two in that whole box, which is quite handy because if I've done something wrong and I blow one, I've got a spare. So I'll pop that in there. Time for a bit more cleaning. We've got in the case here, you can see where that the capacitor and the battery have leaked down to the bottom of the case, so we'll clean that up. And this is the metal cage out of the inside of the case as well, and you can see here it's a little bit gross, so I'll get all that cleaned up and everything's shipshape before it goes back together. Well, it's been a lot tougher to clean off than I expected, and I found that the best results are some pretty liberal use of IPA and steel wool to get this sort of rusty goo off. Nothing else was touching it. Okay, that's a bit better. We've have lost some of that shielding paint in the process, but I'd rather have raw plastic than that sort of acidic goo in there. Right, case done. So this is the brains of the operation, the motherboard. It's a little bit, just got dust and crumbs and things on it, but I can't see really any corrosion other than just this corner. This is the corner that was underneath where all that leaking happened. And I can just see a bit of green around these ports here. Now, something interesting to note on this board, these Mac Pluses came with either 1 megabyte or you could upgrade them to 4 megabytes. And I believe these sticks are all 1 megabyte sticks, so that gives me 4. And what actually tells me that this is a 4 megabyte machine is this resistor's been cut here on the board, and you cut that if these are 1 megabyte sims over here to give you 4 megabytes total in the machine. So that's been done, and it's got 4 in here, so I'm assuming that they're all 1 megabyte sticks, and we've got 4 meg in the machine, which will be great. It's maxed out, as it were. It looks okay to me. I'm just going to give it a quick clean, quick brush down, and we'll pop it all together and actually see if it boots. Now, I think it's time to put it all together and see if it works. Let's do that. Okay, I'm a bit nervous about this. It's been a few weeks since I pulled it apart, so I'm hoping I got everything back together where it goes. Now, standard disclaimer applies. There's lethal voltage in the back of these CRT machines. Well, any electrical appliance that plugs into the wall, so don't kill yourself. Be safe, people. Anyway, let's plug it in and see what happens. Right, and moment of truth, I guess. Let's flick it on. I'm just going to stand back a little bit, just in case. And it beeps. It beeps, so we've got some life. I can't see any smoke, but I can't see anything on the screen either. Let's, oh no, there it is. So we've got a sad Mac, which could mean memory or something else, but we've got a picture and we've got a beep, so that's a good sign. We're getting somewhere. Right, I've just been searching in the Dead Mac Scrolls, which is like the Bible for these old Macs and how to get things working, and I have found that the error code means that there's a problem with the memory in slots 1 and 3, so it does look like a memory related issue. I'm just going to reseat that and try it again and switch on. Same error. Okay, take 3. I've just got the 2 1 megabyte sticks in there in slots 1 and 2. Didn't really beep, did it? Oh, look at that. That's different. Okay, I'm going to try the original Apple RAM, the 2 sticks I've got in the slots 1 and 2. Ah, no beep again. So I wonder if the issue's with those slots. Oh, that's new. Well, it's good to know the eject mechanism works. But the screen's not happy still. Right, well, we're kind of getting somewhere, not getting somewhere, aren't we? Okay, now I've just realized if I assume that those 1 megabyte sticks, one of them's bad, they have to be installed in pairs, and I've just put these two, what I assume to be 256 sticks in, but I'm going to have to resolder this little join, I think, for it to work. So I'm going to try that and put it back together and then see if it works with 512K in here. Okay, what are we up to now, 5? No beep. Okay, I've still got those same sticks in there, the Apple ones, but what I've done is I've soldered the point underneath that snipped resistor, because if you've only got one row, which is the first 2 lines of RAM, then you're supposed to have that connected with a 150 ohm resistor. So I've put one in. Let's try it again. Beep, good. Yes, that was the issue. Great, it's looking for a disk. All I had to do was bridge that little one row spot there with a resistor, and then it's obviously telling the motherboard to look just on that one row for RAM, and it's quite happy now. Now it's only going to have, I believe, 512K of RAM. I'll try and find an operating system. We'll get it booted and see what we've got. Exciting. Right, I've found this disk here, which has Mac OS 6.0.8 on it. Let's see what happens. Okay, doesn't like that. Now, I suspect what's happening is, I think this is a 1.44 megabyte formatted disk. And of course, this being a Macintosh Plus, this has an 800K drive in it. So this is high density. This is my only double-sided, double density disk I have, and it's actually your Apple tour of the Macintosh Plus. So technically it should be the right disk for us. Happy Mac, that's a good sign. Welcome to Macintosh. The disk drive sounds okay. Right, so we need at least 960K of memory to run the tour, which is telling me that we do indeed only have 512K in the Plus. So what I've done, I've actually ordered some 1 megabyte sticks from overseas, so they'll be taking quite a while to get here. So for the meantime, I might put it back together and see if I can get the Blue SCSI working on this, just so we can get to desktop and start playing around with it. Oh, I wonder what this is. It's not coming off very easy. Yuck. I thought it might be coffee or something, but... Huh. It's kind of like glue or paint or something. Well, that's annoying. I thought it would just wipe off easy. It's been fighting us a little bit, this Mac Plus. What I've decided to do is pull it all apart again and pull it right apart and get these plastics apart, and I'm going to soak them in a tub of soapy water to try and loosen up whatever this stuff is. I think it might be sort of paint or something. It's really baked on there. Same as on the screen. Like, it's really, you can't even pick it off with your fingernail. So yeah, I'm not sure, but I'll try that. So as I'm taking it apart, I thought I'd take the keyboard apart as well. It's pretty crusty inside, as you can see. Always take a photo of these keyboards before you pull all the keycaps off, so you know where they go back again. So everything is clean and spotless after a lot of scrubbing. In fact, I've got to say, cleaning those paint marks or whatever they were off this machine was harder than all the other work I've done on it. It took ages and just a lot of scrubbing and soaking. But I think the end result is pretty good. You can't even really tell it was there. It is fairly well scrubbed around here, but I think it's going to look okay. The keyboard's been cleaned, every key's been pulled off and cleaned. And of course, I disassembled the mouse and gave that a really good scrub and clean as well. So it's just like it came out the factory, just sort of new and fresh and ready to do computing work.
I've plugged the Blue SCSI into the back and I've got a fresh disk image ready to go.
So without further ado, let's turn it on and see what it does. And straight away, happy Mac and welcome to Macintosh. Now it boots up pretty quick because it's got that Blue SCSI, and it's super quiet because there's no fan in this machine and there's no spinning hard drive. So it just sits here being quiet and like a modern computer really. It's really quite nice. Now I've put SimCity on this disk image, so I thought we'll see what this little Mac Plus can do. So we'll go into the games folder, open up SimCity and double click the SimCity file. Ah, what a shame. There's not enough free memory to run SimCity, so it just won't run on that 512K. It's going to limit us to what we can do, I think. Never fear, I do have a solution, because one thing I love about these old Macs is that they can network. And this one in particular is going to be able to talk to my RetroNET server. So I'll just open up the chooser here. We can click on Apple Share and it just comes straight up, RetroNET. So let's join RetroNET server. And I've just got to use the name of the server. Whoops, tybook. And I'll give it my super secret password. Hit OK, straight through to RetroNET server. OK, and it's just going to link up. So it's really actually quite powerful. This machine's running 6.0.8 and it has the Apple Share extension installed as well as part of that operating system. And that's all it needs to talk to my titanium PowerBook. So we're really, if I double click on this, we are going all the way from here in the basement to here. So here we are upstairs in the office where I do most of my editing, and we are wirelessly connected from our titanium PowerBook server all the way down to that Macintosh Plus in the basement. So the titanium PowerBook server is connected to this Apple Airport Extreme, and that is connected to the Airport Extreme in the basement, and that's connected to the Macintosh Plus. So we're wirelessly connected all the way through. And what's even cooler is that I can be connected to this server with a modern Mac. So I can download stuff and get stuff off the web, chuck it on the server and access it from any Mac that I've got in my collection. And so in a very real sense, we are spanning across multiple generations of Macintosh, with the exception of the 128K and the 512K Macintoshes that didn't have networking. Everything else has got networking installed, and so provided you've got a server which is able to talk both languages, you can span across almost every model of Macintosh. If I had a Silicon Mac here, it would still be doing the same job, still be talking to this, which is talking to the Mac Plus, so spanning all that way from 1986 right till today. And now the reason I don't have a Silicon Mac here is because I'm waiting for them to make a 27-inch iMac version, which well, I don't think they're going to actually now, but I'm holding on to hope. Maybe they will. So yes, that's the setup. That's the networking setup. Back to the basement. Now the way I've configured this Mac Plus for networking is it talks Apple Talk out of the serial port here, and that goes to a bridge which converts it to Ethernet, and that Ethernet cable goes to an Airport Extreme, and that just wirelessly sends all the information to another Airport Extreme I've got in the office, and it all just works super well. So here we are in the games folder in our server, and I think we're going to play a bit of Lode Runner, so I'm just going to copy that. You can actually play it from the server, but it's a bit laggy because it's not a very fast protocol. So what we'll do is we'll just copy Lode Runner straight into my games folder, drag it over, and you can see the little arrows flashing in the corner here to say, yep, there's a transfer in progress. It's doing its thing. And there we have it, Lode Runner. So without further ado, let's play. So you can still have quite a lot of fun with these old machines, even with just 512K of RAM, provided you find the right games that are going to run on it. So that's a really good result for this little Mac Plus. We've given it a new lease of life. It was looking pretty sorry for itself, covered in muck and dirt, and with that blown reefer inside, it never was going to do much at all. So it's good that we've been able to fix that, get it going, and it's going to be a great little addition to the basement, which is where you've been today. Thanks for watching. To here we are up in the, can you not show your butt to the camera? Yeah. Go around that way. There we go.